Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. Today is June 24th, 2024, and this is your Monday market update. As we do this time each week, let's review last week's market action, as crazy as it was, with a midweek break, and then we'll talk about this coming week. Markets kept up the positive momentum and ignored anything negative on Monday. We did get Fed head Kashkari, who said that it would be reasonable to predict that a December rate cut may happen. I have to say that the more I hear them talk about this, the more I'm confident that they have no idea. I maintain, in my opinion, that December is the first time it could happen, but I'm still in the early 2025 camp. Remember, the Fed does not like to surprise the markets anymore. And as the last few Fed meetings have been preceded by virtually every news outlet reporting that there is no expectation of a rate cut at this meeting, this will have to change before we get a cut. And again, my opinion is that we will see that post-election regardless. Fed heads are pounding the table that they are data dependent, yet they keep doing this prediction thing. I guess that's why they get the big bucks. Eco data was sparse, but the Empire State Manufacturing Index, one of the first of the month to report on manufacturing, this time in the New York area, improved. Still negative, but getting better. Markets opened little change while all eyes stayed on the big three. No, for those of you that have been around a bit, that's not the big three automakers. This is, of course, Apple, NVIDIA, and Microsoft. NVIDIA hit a record high before pulling back slightly, and actually, brace yourself, closed down for the day. Fed head Harker got into the action. He thinks that one cut would do, and he wants to see more data first. We keep hearing that. By the end of the day, Dow was up 0.5%, S&P up 0.75%, and once again, the NASDAQ leads the day up just under 1%. On Tuesday, stocks wavered back and forth from green to red, opened about unchanged, and as markets digested the retail sales numbers, which were soft, but as I've been saying, slowing sales is not to worry. Sales dropping off a cliff, growth dropping off a cliff, that's the worry. And that was not what the report said. Soft landing is still in the air, rate cuts still on deck per the market. Overall, going into the midweek holiday, markets churned sideways and ended with a whimper. The Dow was up less than 0.25%, the S&P up 0.25%, and the NASDAQ was up just a bit, but still up. Wednesday, we had the midweek rest, and then markets opened Thursday, gapping higher on the open as the world is starting to see central banks break from the U.S. lead. The Swiss National Bank cut rates by 25 basis points, which was twice what was expected. They are not in the don't surprise the markets camp. NVIDIA also kept going higher, post-split, of course, so every dollar you see this one move, put a zero behind it. Remember the 10-for-1 stock split? There was some soft eco data. Philly Fed smelled like stagflation, even though Powell said at the last meeting, I don't see the stag or the inflation. Yes, I do love that quote. Housing starts fell to the lowest level since June of 2020, and jobless claims were still holding near multi-quarter highs. Markets were beginning to see the rate cut idea, but that it would come due to an oncoming recession. That is not the soft landing camp. Later in the day, there was some profit taking as stocks reversed and ended on the lows for the day, even the darlings Tech 2. The Dow closed up 0.75%, S&P down 0.25%, and the NASDAQ down 0.75%. Yes, the darlings came for sale. Would it be the start of something? More to come. Friday brought lower opens in line with the late day selling from Thursday and quadruple witching day coming when options expire. Maybe more volatility than normal. It was to be seen. Eco data was in. Services PMI was the highest in 26 months. Manufacturing a 3-month high. Home sales had prices of existing homes hitting new records. Sales were a little better than expected, even at the higher prices. Consumer slowdown. Where's that? Just don't see it. As seems to be the news the news cycle, NVIDIA was front and center and would close lower again on the day. That is 2 days in a row and down 4% for the week. Wow, that really puts a dent in that 155% move year to date. We will see markets were lower, but we did see 14 S&P stocks hit 52-week highs. And if you're looking for the cream rising to the top, I wonder about this one, Hertz. You remember that car rental company that was due for bankruptcy in the COVID time period? Even the subject of people trading company stock that looked like it would be worthless. Well, they're back, still down 60% this year, but they did issue $1 billion in bonds. Let's keep an eye on these excesses. Not sure if they mean anything, but as we came to the end of the day, the volatility was not too much. It is summer after all. So at the end of the day, the Dow was down 11 points, just a hair. S&P, NASDAQ each down 0.25%. For the week, the Dow posted the best week since May, up 1.5% on the week. S&P up about 0.5%. And after the late week sell-off, the NASDAQ closed flat for the week. Let's preview this week. While I think all of the oxygen in the room will be sucked out by the PCE and core PCE on Friday, the key measures that the Fed watches for inflation, I do think eyes will also be on a few other reports. Some important earnings and a shareholder meeting are set. FedEx and Nike will get some attention. And of course, NVIDIA shareholder meeting will be watched closely. For the eco front, we'll get PCE and core PCE, but before that, we'll get home sales data as well as jobs data. As always on Thursday, GDP third revision is also out. The week will wrap up with the University of Michigan inflation and sentiment reports. Fed heads are back at it. Waller, Daly, Bowman, Cook, Barkin, and Williams seems like a light for what we've been doing recently. It does remain to be seen this week if the weakness in mega cap tech stocks are going to keep going. For now, stay in touch. We'll see how this week goes, and I'll be back on Friday with a planning video. Have a great week.